Right, a field life updates I want to stick at the end of this video. So I did a podcast last week about my teaching experience in Thailand. And of course I made some mistakes, and I found that I'm still at least slightly autistic about the way I converse with people. And what I mean by that is I'm not always aware of social situations. I noticed that I told a story about how I used my weapons in the classroom when I was an English teacher, and I saw the person that was interviewing me started covering their mouth, and people normally do that when they don't like what the other person is hearing. That's why they want to try to hide it. Of course, I only noticed that when I watched the recording of that video, of that interview, which is a valuable lesson to take away, as sometimes what you think is funny, another person may not think is funny. And I did find a bit of cringe factor when I watched myself in that interview. By that I mean, I'm used to watching these videos, watching myself go off on a monologue. When I first started recording lectures, it's normally just me talking. But when it's actually a human interaction between two people, you don't know what the other person is going to say. So it makes it different, and it's a new experience to me, which I'm going to keep watching that video until I get over that cringe that I got when I first watched it. Yes, I remember when I first started watching myself on camera, like right now, how cringe as well. That was November of 2019. Of course, I've gotten over that now. I tolerate seeing myself on camera now, and this is just another step. So that's it for now. And can you see the CDMX sign? Maybe it's very far away. Anyways, seek discomfort. So many dogs in this city. Hopefully they don't start barking. Alright. Right. New journal. And I got a mic, so it's a little bit louder, I think. Still have to play with the audio a little bit. Alright, so last entry we talked about regret and the difference between regret and hindsight bias. So to briefly recap, so regret is feeling that at the time of an opportunity, you had everything you needed to seize the initiative, but you failed to do that for whatever reason, and now you feel bad about it. While hindsight bias, on the other hand, that's when you have a feeling that because right now, because of the passage of time, you have superior information compared to the past when an opportunity presented itself. You want to take that superior information you have now and travel back in time and change things, change what happened in the past, which is, of course, not possible. So that's briefly the difference between the two. And we talked about, in order to discern the difference between the two, you look at your past self as a different person. You look at your 15, 20, 25-year-old self as another man, another woman, someone that is different, someone that does not have the knowledge you have right now. And you put yourself in their shoes, using Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, use this concept of empathy, putting yourself in another person's shoes, seeing things with their lens, to discern between whether that bad feeling, that negative feeling you have now, whether it's hindsight bias or regret. So that's how you tell the difference between the two. While preventing regret, you do the opposite. Instead of looking in the past, you look at the future. You look at your 50, 55, 60-year-old self as a different person. If this sounds a bit psychotic, well, what's wrong with it? So you look at your future self as a different person. And instead of using the concept of empathy, you use a different concept. A concept used by management professionals in the business world. They use a concept that they coin premortem. Now, premortem, that's you're looking at an object in the future. You look at that object and you present a hypothetical failure that happens further out in time. And that failure has happened in the future, hypothetically, and you begin working back how that failure happened, work back step by step on how that failure happened. And this concept of premortem, it comes from a concept used by medical professionals. And medical professionals, they use a concept called postmortem, which is portrayed by popular TV shows such as NCIS and CSI, where you have a dead person lying on a table, and the actor or actress determines how that person died, what was the cause of death. And premortem is the opposite. You look into the future instead and see what can possibly go wrong that can cause a death. And that business term we can apply in our own lives. Of course, this term of premortem, there's a lot of guesswork to it. So many times it may seem like it's guesstimation, because we cannot predict the future with a 100% degree of accuracy. And as we do that, there's a lot of guesswork involved. There are things on the bright side that we know for certain, though. There are 3 things that I'd like to bring up that we know for sure is going to happen to ourselves in the future. That future self that we are looking at as a different person. So these 3 things. Firstly, so we know that as we get older, as the years, the decades go by, our body is going to decay, starting really around middle age. I'm not a professional at this. Starting middle age and beyond that, our body is not going to be as strong as it used to be. Secondly, we also know that as most people, as they get older, they take on more social, economic, and perhaps even political responsibilities. A few examples to make that more clear. Oftentimes, most people, they take on a mortgage, they have a family, perhaps they have a business, a career. That makes it more difficult to do other things that they may want to do, which we'll discuss later. And thirdly, we know that because of the passage of time, we're going to do things. We're going to experience a variety of different life experiences. And that's going to lead to us having more know-how on a variety of subjects. We're going to need more experience. We're going to be more capable in doing it, not because of any merit of our own, but because that's just how life works. We get older, we know more things. So these 3 things, let's do a general analysis of premortem. It's going to be kept a bit general so that it applies to more people. You, in your own time groups, you can use it into your own specific situation. Right, so let's get started. So first one, we have our bodies decaying. Right, so in life there's a lot of, for example, strenuous sports that require a lot, it's physically demanding. For instance, using me as an example. So earlier this year and last year, I did Muay Thai, which anyone that has experienced Muay Thai knows that it's very physically demanding. It takes a lot out of you. And even in my early 20s right now, I sustained injuries that they felt like they weren't good injuries, like something's not right. It's just not, you wake up in the morning, you feel sore. There's something not right with your body because of doing it. And begrudgingly, and there was a gnawing feeling as I progressed. I did Muay Thai for about a year. As I progressed through it, my progress through it, one hand I was wondering how those other guys were keeping up with it for years. Other hand, I was thinking to myself, if I was even 10 years older, I wouldn't have been able to go at it as hard as I wanted to, as I did, just because my body would not be able to recover as quickly. It's just physics, and that's just how life goes. The body gets older, it gets to decay. Another example, it's a fact of life, it's biology, that as a person gets older, they're not as fertile, as in they're not as capable of having children, especially women. And me, my father was pushing 60, and my mother was in her early 40s when they conceived me. But that's the exception, not the rule. So a possible regret that an older person may have is that they did not have children, and perhaps they didn't have as many children as they would like. And now that they're too old, well, there's not a whole lot they can do about it then. And second one, second thing we know is most people, they take on more social, political, and perhaps economic responsibilities. So a person that has a mortgage and a baby on hand, it's difficult for them to just wake up in the morning and say, let's go, and do something spontaneous, because, well, they have people counting on them. You can't just make a cross-city, cross-country move, or maybe even move to a different continent to do something, because, well, you've already planted roots, such as a mortgage, a business. It's more than just a geographic change, though. It's also the concept of economically, when you have people counting on you. If people count on you to put food on the table, because that's always the first priority, putting food on the table, securing the people that you love. If they're counting on your steady income to put food on the table, well, if you have a sporadic idea such as, I want to be a rock star, well, that's not the most feasible idea. That you'll be giving up on your steady income, and perhaps your idea would lead you to having no income at all. And the third point of, as we get older, we tend to have more knowledge because of the passage of time. And perhaps you have a goal that is a really big goal, a big dream, that you don't know how you're going to achieve it. Well, think, though, that perhaps later, years, decades ahead of you, that older you will have the knowledge to achieve that goal. The key, though, is that you have to start living, you have to start experiencing, gaining that know-how, that requires you to begin stepping to get to where you want to go. And as you walk, more doors will open to you, more opportunities will present themselves to you as you acquire more knowledge. And you take that future knowledge that you will get to get that, obtain that goal that you want now. It's just at the present time you don't have the knowledge to gain it. So these three concepts, these three premortem analysis, what they have in common. The first one of our bodies getting older so that we can't do as many sports, or second one, you can't just do something that you want because you have other people counting on you. Third of, you have a goal in the future, you don't know how to reach it, but you have to start stepping towards it to be able to reach it in the future. What they have in common is that it requires you to start taking action now. Because that, in this premortem exercise of that older person that they have regrets because they can't do anything about their situation now. That old guy, that old gal, you're going to become that OG, whether you like it or not. And there are things you can do now using these premortem exercise of anticipating a failure. Do things now so that that old person, that older version of you, doesn't have those regrets. And you want to help yourself, right? Right. And of course, being old comes with a lot of wisdom. There's no doubt about it, and it's great. It's a great gift to have that wisdom, that experience that comes with age. Youth, on the other hand, though, also has its privileges. Those privileges need to be focused on and emphasized. They need to be milked. That, though, is a topic for a different conversation.